The first topic for discussion, the Lagos State government released the much anticipated 41-page white paper on the NSAS panel of inquiry report. According to the government, 11 out of the 32 recommendations made by the panel have been accepted. 6 others were accepted, but with modification, while one was rejected. The document also said 14 of the recommendations fall outside the powers of the state and will consequently be forwarded to the federal government for consideration. A leaked version of the report had inducted the Nigerian Army and the Lagos State government in the killing of unarmed protesters and a subsequent cover-up of the incident at the Lekki toll gate on October 20, 2020. But after the panel submitted its findings to Governor Sanwo-Olu, he set up a 4-member committee led by the Lagos State Attorney General and Commissioner for Justice, Mr. Muyosuri Onibanjo San, giving them 2 weeks to raise the white paper on the report submitted by the panel. Before the white paper was released, Lagos Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu called on leading entertainers, Fowls, Mr. Macaroni, and Seun Kuti to join him for a walk for peace in Lagos. The governor called on the entertainers who joined other youths to lead the protest against police brutality on October 2020. And according to information, some of the entertainers turned down the governor's request. Now, let us start with the I don't want to use the word authenticity, but the need for the white paper. We've talked here on this platform where some of the analysts joining us here have been saying there is a need for the white paper, although the report released by the panel is more like the main thing. But the government needs to do the needful by releasing a white paper. But then it seems like the narrative has changed. Since the release of the white paper, there is this argument that there was no need for the white paper and that the Lagos State government had no power to release a white paper. What do you think about that?
The substratum or what is happening here is purely politics. You know, it's politics. Supposing it was a military administration, and even from the history of Nigeria, many panels have sat and we never received anything. You understand? They just go and take the report of the panel and just keep it somewhere. You understand? But the governor of Lagos State has been dilly-dallying. You understand? It's not like someone who is stable. He was the one who constituted this panel. And having constituted it, meaning that he nominated people to come into the panel. Justice Okobi, retired, was once in this Lagos, the Solicitor General of Lagos State, Permanent Secretary, Minister of Justice, before she became a judge. So she's not a person of mean status. She is a reputable person. And look at other members of the panel. Adegorua, for example, he is a learned SAN who has a track record of campaign for democracy. You understand? Way back, go we in school together. You understand? So the thing is that you've set up a panel. Money was voted for this panel to run. And the panel received about 252 petitions from Nigeria, from Nigerians, out of which only about 192 or thereabout, and 86 were treated by the panel. Now, you see, even when the panel was instituted, to the best of my knowledge, it was meant to douse the tension in the city and in Lagos generally. You understand? So, some people did not have faith in the panel. But interestingly, when people started to come up, our faith started, you know, to rise. Then, eventually, the panel now submitted this report. But somehow, some people were able to leak it to the public, which is also understandable. Nigeria is not a vacuum. Azumi is a country whereby people are sure that when people have sat in a panel and made recommendations, those recommendations are actually executed by the executive. So that's why perhaps they leaked it to the public. Now, Owonikoko SAN said there were 40 inconsistencies in the panel, in the report of the panel. You understand? But for me, I want us to be calm, you know, and not to lose our thinking capacity over this matter. So you see, now people were injured. There was no inconsistency about that. That the army used live bullets and blank bullets on a mass of people who were not violent is not a subject of contention. You understand? I think those are the myths of this matter. Those are the issues.
But the big question now is this debate all of a sudden whether the Lagos state government had any right or any power to release the white paper.
You see,
which part of the divide are you?
I know that Falana SN said it was illegal for the state to issue a white paper. Like I've said, the issue on hand is politics. I don't want to go too much into his legal finesse. I don't want to go there because look, when this thing started initially, it was because Nigerians went out to protest police brutality. That is how the thing emanated from. So we should not be clever by half, raising a lot of red herring here and there to cover the issue. Look, people were complaining about police brutality. And how did you resolve that issue? You now brought in soldiers and the same police to brutalize the people. That is the issue. Those are the issues. The common man on the street, the parents who have lost their children, the injured, and etc. Are they really interested in the legality or illegality of the issue? The problem thing for me as a Nigerian and as a lawyer is that the panel was established by law and it was funded by public funds. So any other thing thereafter is politics. It's politics. It's gymnastics. It's politics.
Okay, well, what side of the divide are you?
For me, I will throw the side of our respected human rights activist and senior advocate of Nigeria, Chief Femi Falana. In the sense that if you look at what actually transpired during the panel, vis-a-vis provisions of Section 36 of the Constitution with respect to fair hearing, with respect to how matters are being conducted, you will discover that in that panel, it was like a court sitting presided by a former judge. Like my learned colleague here rightly said, it was not imposed on the state government. It was not an independent body set up to look into what transpired at that Lekki toll gate. It was a body constituted by the Lagos state government.
And approved by the federal government.
By the federal government. And affirmed by them. They never raised issues as regards the people that constituted that panel and the persons that populated that panel. They never raised any doubt, they never raised any issues. Which means, ab initio, they accepted the constitution of that panel, and by that, they have to also accept whatever ought to be the outcome of that panel. They can set up a panel, constitute a panel, form the panel also. They even made a confession that at a certain stage, initially they approved 200 million for them. At a certain level, they made further requests that it wasn't enough. They still approved further money to them. So showing that they never expressed any doubts as regards that body they constituted. And now the body called evidence. They formed a quasi-law court. They called people that testified. The people led in evidence. People were cross-examined. And people were re-examined. People were heard. People presented their cases. People were asked questions. People were represented by lawyers. And the people were called in evidence to testify.
They also did their own independent investigation. By going to some of the
and they even called expert witnesses and all these things. It was like a fully conducted trial. And also supervised by a reputable former judge of Lagos State. And then they submitted their reports, which will be from an unbiased perspective, because you formed them, you launched them, you inaugurated them, you equipped them, and you set them out to work. And then they came up with a report. And you are on your own, you set up a body to review the outcome of the reports they have submitted to you. Now, that report you are reviewing, why are you faulting that report? On what ground, on what basis are you using to fault that report? Because now, if you look at it, are you going to call fresh evidence? Are you sitting on appeal on that report? Are you not sitting on appeal? Is anybody to come and argue? Has any counsel come to argue it as an appeal? Because now, if you are doubting the report of that panel, that means you also give the people that actually presented that panel the opportunity of coming to argue it. You have to set up another panel to review that panel, whereby the people that actually came up with that panel will be called up to argue, to affirm their points, affirm their facts, affirm whatever the premises that enable them to arrive at what they gave as a panel. But you didn't do any of this. All you did is to form a panel and suo motu on your own decide to like tamper with outcome of a panel that ran full-fledged process of law. That people tendered their exhibits, tendered evidence, called oral evidence, we testified and cross-examined. You now set up a panel to overrule that without even giving them the right to defend the report of the panel by appearing before you or anybody you set up to defend how they arrived at that panel. You now decided to review it and then come up with your own white paper and then imposing that white paper on them. You have denied them of fair hearing. Because if they have submitted a report to you and you have doubts about that report, it also take the form of appeal. They appeal, they call you appeal, they come back, and then they convince you on how they arrive at all the conclusions they arrive at there. So for me, based on the fact that there is that gross contravention of fair hearing of Section 30, they were not heard. The panel, the people that sat on that panel were not further heard by the panel white paper set up by Lagos State government to review the outcome of their reports. So in line with what's obtainable in the procedures of practice and litigation in court, that panel, that white paper, is a nullity. Will go to no issue. So I wholeheartedly and unreservedly subscribe to the opinion of our learned silk and reputable human rights activist, Femi Falana.
Okay, we will go into details of why the change of mouth and argument about it all of a sudden. Let's link up with Barrister Kingsley Chime talking to us from Yaba. Let's have your view on this. What side of the divide are you? Was there any need for the white paper? The Lagos State governor didn't have any power whatsoever, to issue a white paper, knowing fully well, taking into consideration that he set up that panel, and of course with the federal government stamp on it, and all of a sudden there's an argument about the legitimacy of the white paper.
Thank you so much, Solomon, and good afternoon, viewers. Like I did say last week, that issue of white paper is unknown to law, particularly with respect to the enabling legislation that empowers the creation of the panel, which is the panel of inquiries law of Lagos State, 2015. It made no reference to white paper or committee to review the actions of the panel. The position of the Lagos State government as contained in the white paper is a testament that there was no sincerity or purpose at an issue, that the real essence of setting up this panel had been messed up and defeated by the conclusion reached in the white paper. Because white paper in itself is only trying to communicate the position of government, the state government, with respect to all the recommendations made. So they have come up with their own position, and unfortunately, they have lost the opportunity to bring justice to the society. The remote and immediate cause of the protest that culminated into this panel was absolutely defeated. So there's nothing like white paper under the enabling legislation that created the panel. The position of the government is already a position that is in the public domain, even before the release of the white paper. Just like some of those in the studio rightly pointed out, that prior to the release of this white paper, government lawyers, particularly a senior advocate of Nigeria, Mr. Onikoku-san, who came out to point out some what he categorized as lapses in the panel. And of course, if you have followed the trajectory of those commentaries, you realize that it's all culminated into the outcome as contained in the white paper. So white paper or no white paper is unknown to law. The government has communicated their unwillingness to respect the findings of facts made by panel constituted by government itself. It's a self-indicting, and it's an unfortunate development. And you could see it from the reactions of Nigerians, that much as government has tried to give their position in the matter, the people believed in the outcome of the panel, and government is unwilling to respect the recommendations made. So it is what the government had wanted to do ab initio. There was no intention to bring justice. There was no intention for true reconciliation and healing. May God help Nigeria.
I have problem with the change of mouth though, because before the white paper came out, I mean, it was more like a unanimous acceptance that the state government needs to bring a white paper. Then there was no debate of the legitimacy of white paper or whether the state government have any power to release a white paper. So why do you think there's a sudden change of tone here from people opposing the white paper?
No, there has always been a debate as to the legality of the white paper. Why people were clamoring for the government to release white paper was to know the position of government, because the panel had made their own recommendation. So Nigerians were willing and looking forward to seeing the position of government, whether the government will be taken seriously by their words and actions. So yes, Nigerians were looking forward not to get legality from the white paper, but to have validity to what the government seemed to represent at the time, and to know whether in real sense of it, the state government is sincere with its position. So now, when they release the white paper, it is clear to everyone to see that what the government is saying something else, and they go back to do a different thing. So the white paper is to give the society the impression of the real intention of government. There has never been a contention or argument about its legality. I said it last week on the studio, that under Section 15 of the panel of inquiries law that created this panel, there was no mention of white paper. White paper is an administrative mechanism to communicate their position in the recommendations of any panel constituted by government. That is what they have done. So it has no legality. Of course, the recommendation itself is not binding on the government. So the white paper, Nigerians could have held governments accountable on the position they have taken in the white paper. But since they have denied some of the facts and recommendations made by a panel, of course, there's nothing for them to implement. So it could have been a position for the society to hold the government accountable for their actions and for their promises. But since they have reneged in their position, they have also failed to accept recommendations and facts founded on true law and evidence. They have decided to have their own panel and come up with their own fact finding. That's fine. So there has never been an issue as to legality of the white paper. White paper is unknown. It is just an administrative mechanism which they have done. So there's no issue with that.
Stay with us, we will talk with you more. Let's go back to the studio where I mean, when this panel brought, submitted their reports, there was the Lagos State Governor, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, had lots of praise. First for sitting on the panel, which was supposed to be like to douse the tension, has been said before,
Yes.
and to more or less like create peace, and of course dish out compensations to different victims of not just the NSAS but
Exactly.
police brutality generally. And of course there was the general applaud that at least he did not interfere
Yes.
with the proceedings of the panel, even though the reports indicted him, and of course a whole host of people, the police, the army, and all that. He did not interfere. He gave them a free hand, and the report was submitted, and there was this applaud and praise, for how we handled it. And that high praise and that expectation, positive expectation, also followed the white paper
Yes.
that was released. But then again, different federal government agencies started coming out to condemn the report, of course, led by the Honorable Minister for Information, Lai Mohammed. And it looks like the state government now took a U-turn. Would you agree with so many persons that it was pressure from the federal government that have led to this white paper that have, of course, has received widespread condemnation?
Well, it could be certainly it is pressure from several quarters, because look, the fundamental issue that the panel itself did not address is still pending. Who invited the military? That question has not been answered, whether by the report or the white paper. So that fundamental thing is there, and there's a suspect in this matter that perhaps nobody wants to mention. But the thing is this: the essence of this panel, like the government have been saying, is to bring healing, to bring peace, and etc. But it is elementary that where there's no justice, there cannot be peace. You understand? So those are fundamental issues of life. According to Ole Soyinka said that justice is the first condition of humanity. So you see, where that element is missing, there won't be trust. What's happening really is a trust deficit. If, like you have suggested, the pressure from the federal government that they have been bearing on the governor made this white paper magic. You understand? People even call it a whitewash of a report. You understand? If that is it, if they are responding to pressure, that means it's unfortunate. The thing is that initially, this same governor went to visit children, parents of children that were injured. He admitted at that time that 2 people died. You understand? He even lied on the military. He said he didn't invite the military, but a military man came under oath at the panel and said it was the governor that invited them. You understand? So the thing is that the governor, I don't know who are his advisors, but as far as I'm concerned, they are not doing a good job of it. Now, it's obvious that people are not satisfied with the white paper. Majority of Nigerians are not satisfied. Go on the radio, listen to television, they are not satisfied. And this same governor went on air to be inviting the likes of Faro TV, the likes of Mr. Macaroni.
We will talk about
you understand?
That.
So the thing is that these people that I have mentioned only represent the views of majority of Nigerians. You understand? I don't care where the pressure is coming from. As long as you are the governor of Lagos State. You see, a governor of Lagos State is a very, very prestigious position. It's a powerful position. You understand? Even though you are going to serve for only 1 term, let history record it that as governor, you did the right thing. So this idea that people like Lai Mohammed are bearing pressure on the governor, sincerely speaking, is a disgrace. It's a complete disgrace.
Okay, he said, of course, the Lagos State governor is a very prestigious governor, but if this federal government, this particular administration, is anything to go by, then you would understand why the Lagos State governor tried to, I don't know, save his political job, as it were, because, I mean, this federal government, we know they are no joke. and the pressure has been heavy from different quarters, security agencies, and all that too. You would forgive the governor by putting his own feelings by his side and decide to dance to the tune of the federal government?
I will not forgive him by using that word, forgiving the governor. This is a democratic dispensation. And Nigeria is showing a federal system of government with federating units. And the states is almost as equal to that of the federal. And the state,
not in our system, unfortunately.
No, it is just like where laws are met, and people may not have the boldness, the temerity to uphold that law. That law will remain dormant, and that law will remain ineffective until someone that will implement that law will not make that law effective. Being a federating unit is there in our constitution. It takes, like, there are some governors that we know. I don't want, let me even be vocal. The governor of Rivers State, he has been damning so many things from the federal government, and heaven has not fallen upon him. Has never fallen upon him.
He's an opposition governor.
The governor of Benue State has been doing that. Has never fallen upon him. The governor of Ondo State did the same during the time of grazing routes and other things. Did heaven fall upon him?
Those are opposition.
No, it's not opposition governor.
I can't lose the
governor of Ondo State is not
the
opposition governor.
Yeah.
He's a ruling party. He's in the ruling party. He decided to establish that fact that, look, I am in charge of this state. I'm in charge of everything that happens in this state. And I operate within the confines of the Constitution by the powers given to me as the governor of this state. This is what I will do. And he did that. I have enough for. So it's not a matter of whether you're in opposition or in opposition. It's a matter of, like my friend, and my friend rightly said, what legacy will remember you for? Governor Samuel is a good man by his conduct and his action. If you look at the way his courage and everything, you know that by nature he's a good man. But that goodness, he shouldn't allow external factors to stand that goodness. He should stand his ground. He allowed that NSAS panel free hands to operate. Even when that report came out, I had a very powerful credit for him. I said, it seemed that the governor did not manipulate this report. It seemed that the governor did not manipulate the members of this report. It seemed that the governor did not reach out, even before this report came to the public. I was like, this is a very big credit to this governor, because for me, as a typical thing that happens in Nigeria, governor would have even known the outcome of that report. This white paper would have been done before the report will come out. By the time the report will be submitted, there will have been a way of like, go and see, this is what we want. Go and write it and bring it out. But he didn't do any of these things. And Nigerians respected him for that. Nigerians applauded him. And we were like, this is a new face of leadership emerging in Nigeria. But he now, like you rightly alleged, because you're not even sure, that federal forces, external forces, began to mount pressures on him. You don't succumb to such pressures, because now he's creating more crisis for himself. The little respect, the little regard, the little kind of followership he would have garnered to himself by the virtue of that panel report, he's already destroyed, tarnishing it. Now he's at a crossroad. Now he has actually kind of doubted the veracity or otherwise of that panel report. And the one he brought out, people are saying, no, this is tainted. This did not represent what transpired during NSAS. This cannot assuage our feelings. This cannot assuage, this cannot give us justice. This is not what we expected from your government. So now, governor cannot be forgiven. For me, what I would, although it's already too late, because the white paper is already in the public domain, he would have stick to the findings of that panel and promise people how to like assuage people that were killed, people that were injured, people that were molested, Nigerians, that their fundamental rights as enshrined in the constitutions were kind of trampled upon. The right to the freedom of movement, as having Section 41. Freedom to assemble freely, freedom of expression, Section 39, freedom of the private, Section 37. All these are they were not the one that created it. If you don't have that freedom in the Constitution, given to them, they wouldn't have any reason to apply it, because they know that they have such freedom and they have such rights to assemble freely, to have a free thought, to have to move freely, and to express themselves. That was why they came out there. And there has never been a law that nullified the provisions of the Constitution as regards that they are inalienable rights. So now they exercise that right and something happened. All you should do is to come out boldly, condemn all the people involved. The military, they are not supposed to be brought to that place in the first place. It was maybe governor reacted to panicky situation, that maybe the protest might culminate into something disastrous on something later. No. And that was why that happened. But that not we say it was a mistake that was made. What should be looking at is how to remedy it. And good enough, you have an escape. The report provided an avenue for you to remedy it. The one that concerns you, you apologize. The people that you're supposed to compensate, even if you cannot compensate them to the level of the amount of money being suggested at the report, you plead with them and still negotiate. That was when he would have called for this peace talk, and it would have worked, peace work, and it would have worked. If he's going on a peace work on how to talk to people as regards the recommendations after he has apologized, and then how to things the state government might meet, might be able to cater for, and things they will not be able to cater for. Okay, and
because of time, I have to cut you now. Now, the governor also did something interesting, a political maneuver, as it were, where the document 14 of the recommendation fall outside of the powers of the state, thereby pushing it to the federal government. What do you think he was trying to achieve there?
He cannot go beyond the powers conferred on the states. If you have jurisdictions.
But the power is already on him. He was the one that set up this panel.
Yes, but the panel recommendations outside his powers.
Outside his powers, like the military,
like the military. He cannot sanction. This is within the powers of the federal government. They're like executive bodies, agencies of the federal government, paramilitary, military. This is the governor of the states cannot impose any law or any punishment on federal agencies.
Now, if you are to look at that, of course, we know the security architecture is under the federal purview, but yes, he invited these people, even though as it were constitutional.
Chief Secretary of the states.
Okay.
He has the right to invite them, but he has no right to punish them. He has no right to sanction them. But as a Chief Security Officer of the state, if the state is under threat of any type, within his own understanding of being under threat, he can invite them.
Okay, you wanted to say something?
No, you see, even the Chief Security Officer of a state, I think by practice and interpretation, it's always been the police. You understand?
Yes.
The control of the police, not the military per se. Because if you recall, the military even said the governor cannot invite them.
Yes.
They said that.
But he invited them.
No, wait, no. There's a chain of command. You understand? Yeah, he called Abuja, you recall. He phoned the president. He even told us that he tried reaching the president about 2 or 3 times. They followed the chain of command. You understand? He cannot ordinarily mobilize the military. You know, the military, their mobilization is as prescribed in the Constitution of Nigeria. You understand? The first president that can mobilize the military is the president of Nigeria. Then the National Assembly. Okay. So he followed due process.
Okay, let's go to Yaba, where Kingsley Chime is standing by. Something interesting happened before the white paper was released. The Lagos governor did a quick press conference. I mean, from everything that was going on, if you look at body movement and the environment, it looks like it was a rushed press conference. It looks like it wasn't planned. He talked a little, about the NSAS report and everything, and talked about the white paper before the white paper was finally released. What do you think the governor was trying to achieve there?
It was a PR stunt. The governor wants to play a PR stunt on the Lagosians and indeed Nigerians, because he cannot be calling for peace when justice has not been served, just as the speakers in the studio rightly pointed out. So it was just a media, PR stunt we're trying to. It's a damage control, really, because knowing that what the content of the white paper will not meet the expectations of Nigerians and Lagosians. So he was trying to appeal to conscience, he was trying to appeal to pity, of course, you could see that from the reactions of even those who were invited on a peace walk. There can't be peace without justice. So it is, in my own view, it is a publicity stunt that he was trying to do. Unfortunately, it didn't work out. And you could see he even took it to another dimension, where he went to, I think, Lagos State University, and students say they are going to march with him and some other persons. But the damage has already been done. And that is exactly what the government.
Talking about inviting entertainers like Fowles, Mr. Macaroni, and Sean Kuti, and others to join him in the peace walk. You already called it a PR stunt, just like a lot of persons are. So you think it's backfired, with their refusals? And if so, is it a time for us to really try to heal, and don't you think these entertainers should have tried to join him with the peace walk, in the bids to heal the nation, not just the state right now, the nation, in this stuff.
Other states have their own panel.
Oh, it looks like we've lost him. Okay, you will join us when you can. So, it was time to hear. Don't you think this was, how do I put it, not accepting peace by some of them turning the government down?
The thing is that, as we speak, there are still Nigerians who are still in prison from the effects of the NSAS demonstrations. You understand? So there are still Nigerians who are aggrieved at this time, but they are not known. They are faceless people. Because Lagos State charged many people to court. They did a lot of arrests, which the council on the Zoom will testify to, because he narrated an incident to me, how they were trying to get the bail of some certain people. So the thing is that this is a state issue versus the powerless citizens. Mr. Macaroni, even after the NSAS protest, was picked up by the police and beaten up. You understand? So, Shehu Anikulapo Kuti, his house was also raided after this NSAS issue. So the issue is that, has the police in Nigeria changed? Is the police more humane than before?
I mean, even the one year
till today. So you see, there was this girl that was killed at Ojota the other time. The first thing police said, they denied that they killed. Later they went and gave maybe 10 million naira to the parents of that child during that protest regarding Sunday Igboho and Yoruba Nation something. So the issues are still there. You see, there's a saying that is a mythical race now they're talking about. They say these people, they don't forget anything, and they don't remember anything. You understand? What have we learned from the NSAS struggle? What have we learned? Nothing. Because the police has not changed. You understand? And in fairness to the panel also recommended that there should be better welfare for the police. So the panel is not a one-sided.
And better training.
And better training. The panel was not one-sided. But now go to Ikeja police headquarters there. There's this Alex Ikweme building opposite the place, which is also facing the police quarters. The police quarters is in tatters. You understand? Where the government was able to build this Alex Ikweme quarters right there. So why can't you build something nice like that? Even for the Nigerian police too.
And a frustrated.
Yeah, so those are issues. The issues are still there. There's like this song where one in the Babylon, one step forward, two step backwards. That's what is happening.
Okay, let's go back to Yaba. Kingsley is back online with us. So you were saying something about the peace walk. Don't you think some of these entertainers turning the government down is more like an all-out war in a period where we're supposed to be healing?
No. Like I said, you can't have a true healing without justice. And justice should not only be done, but must be seen to have been manifestly done. What the governor did or was trying to achieve was to throw a publicity stunt or a damage control knowing that the content of the white paper will not be acceptable by the people, knowing that government has failed to implement or to confirm implementation of the recommendations of the panel. So he was trying to appeal to pity, he was trying to appeal to conscience, and he was trying to do a damage control. So the people he invited, and in fact, how he even went about it is another thing altogether. On national television, you are inviting these people, you know them. You could send them a personal email or personal invitation if truly you want these people to come, you know, for us to get justice. But he never did that. Even when all these people turned down the invitation, he went to last, like I was saying earlier, and for whatever reason, the students said they are going to march with him and some other persons. But the deed had already been done. The damage has already been caused. So those people who rejected the invitation did it in their own rights. They felt that you cannot be marching when the recommendations of the panel have not been implemented, and there is no sincerity or purpose on the part of government to implement it. So it is well within their right to reject such. It is not an insult on the governor, with due respect, but it should be a lesson to the government to review and reevaluate their position in the white paper and ensure that justice is done. When that is done, I'm sure Nigerians as a whole will be willing to march with governor to any level. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you very much.